Good day, everyone. This is Mark Vellum, and you're listening to Headline News. Pompeo, not considering 2024 candidacy, instead will focus on the midterm elections. Former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo recently said that he himself has not given much thought to running in the 2024 presidential election. Instead, he is currently most focused on the 2022 congressional midterm elections, hoping that the Republicans will take back the House and Senate. Pompeo made the remarks in an interview with Newsmax TV. He did not discuss concerns about whether he would run in the 2024 presidential election, but he said, "When the time is right for Susan and I to think our way through a presidential run, we'll do that. We know there's a time and a place for a decision, and it's not just yet." Pompeo said he will focus on next year's midterm elections to make sure the Republicans have a big comeback to retake control of both chambers. "I'm going to occupy my time in the fight making sure we retake the House and hopefully the Senate as well, come 2022, he told Newsmax. A Republican Congress will literally provide a place, a backstop against what appears President Biden is intent on doing, which is, in large measure as I can tell, allowing the progressive wing of the Democratic Party to dominate his domestic agenda here at home." Pompeo argued that the Republicans have to take the majority back and that it will be transformational for the American people. In the interview with Newsmax, Pompeo said he will soon announce the names of the Republican congressional candidates who have received his endorsement. Among them is Republican U.S. Representative Don Bacon, an Air Force veteran. Pompeo will soon travel to Omaha, Nebraska, to raise money for Bacon. Pompeo has also endorsed former White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders for Arkansas governor. Pompeo plans to assemble a team to help campaign for House and Senate candidates across the United States. His current chief political advisor is his wife, Susan. Pompeo is widely regarded as one of the Republican presidential candidates in 2024. During Trump's presidency, he has been a central figure in the implementation of the America First policy and has the strongest awareness and counterattack on the Chinese Communist Party of any Secretary of State. Trump endorses current South Carolina Republican Party chairman for re-election, not Lin Wood. Former U.S. President Donald Trump announced his official endorsement of South Carolina Republican Party Chairman Drew McKissick for re-election on Tuesday, March 30th. Attorney Lin Wood also recently announced his candidacy for the position, but he did not receive Trump's endorsement. "Drew has my complete and total endorsement for re-election," Trump wrote in a statement released by his Save America Political Action Committee. Drew McKissick has done an outstanding job as South Carolina GOP chairman, electing more Republicans in 2020 than in over 140 years. Drew fought all the way to the Supreme Court to defend our voting laws, and won. He will continue to grow the party and help conservatives get elected in the great state of South Carolina. McKissick has served as chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party since 2017. Trump's endorsement was released a day after Lin Wood told The Hill he intends to take the state Republican Party chairmanship. According to a photo topped on McKissick's Twitter page, Trump expressed his support for McKissick in a handwritten note back on February 23rd. Trump wrote, "Drew, you have my complete and total endorsement. Great job." And at that time, Lin Wood had not yet announced his candidacy. In response to the former president's February endorsement, McKissick wrote, I'm honored to have President Trump's endorsement and looking forward to the opportunity to continue to serve our party and the conservative principles and grassroots activists that have given us our biggest majority in 140 years. According to The Hill, Lin Wood moved to South Carolina less than a month ago and just announced his candidacy for the state's Republican Party chairmanship in late March. Lin Wood told The Hill, "A compelling reason for my decision to run for chair of the South Carolina Party is that it is time for the leadership of the party to recognize and appreciate the amazing patriots stepping up to get involved in the party. This is not the time to take actions to exclude them." U.S. to help Australia develop air-launched hypersonic cruise missile to counter the CCP threat. The relationship between Australia and China continue to worsen. The Australian government announced on March 31st that it will budget 1 billion Australian dollars, about 770 million USD, to accelerate the establishment of a sovereign guided weapons facility. Australia will partner with the United States to develop and test a hypersonic cruise missile to boost self-defense and help out allies when needed. According to Bloomberg, Australia's development of missiles is aimed at countering the growing influence of the CCP in the Indo-Pacific region. And the revelation of this news threatens to raise the friction between China and Australia. When announcing this plan, Prime Minister Scott Morrison explained, "As the COVID-19 pandemic has shown, having the ability for self-reliance, be it vaccine development or the defense of Australia, is vital to meeting our own requirements in a changing global environment. It's imperative we now proceed with the creation of a sovereign guided weapons capability as a priority. In addition, over the next 10 years, the Australian government will invest 270 billion Australian dollars on defense projects to ensure the security of the Australian people. It will provide thousands of local jobs for companies throughout the defense supply chain. Australia is a member of the Five Eyes Coalition, which shares intelligence with the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand." Australian Defence Minister Peter Dutton said, "We will work closely with the United States on this important initiative to ensure that we understand how our enterprise can best support both Australia's needs and the growing needs of our most important military partner." Possible strategic industry partners include weapons manufacturers Raytheon, Lockheed Martin Australia, Kongsberg, and BAE Systems Australia. Australia works closely with the US to ensure that local manufacturers can support the needs of Australia and its military partners, and that Australia is capable of providing adequate readiness for combat operations, even if there are disruptions in the nation's weapons supply chain. The national publisher, The Australian, noted that the factories are expected to be ready for production within 3 years. If Australia does start producing missiles within 3 years, this will be much faster than most defense experts or even the Australian government have predicted. The newspaper also analyzed that under the deteriorating tensions between Australia and China, the Morrison government's decision has two main strategic objectives. The first is to provide Australia with greater missile supply security, while the second is to significantly strengthen the U.S.-Australian military alliance to facilitate sharing and advanced technology and integration of military supply chain. Australian Strategic Policy Institute think tank estimates that Australia will spend up to 100 billion Australian dollars over the next 20 years on military procurement of missiles and guided weapons. This concludes today's broadcast. Thank you for your time, and stay tuned for the next headline news.